Welcome to We Don't Color on the Dog. I'm Rick Outzen. I've got a very special guest, Coach Stephanie Yelton. She's the women's basketball coach at UWF. Steph, thank you for coming on it. I've missed you.
It has it seems like it's been a long off season, Rick. I mean, we usually talk hoops in March, and I'm
Right.
super excited for you to be excited about basketball in November.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're the one of the few people I can talk hoops with because I kind of geek out on it. The tell us about this year's team.
This year's team, we've got a lot of new faces. I think that's just kind of the way everything goes now with the transfer portal and a lot of players moving and shuffling in the off season. But we've got 7 freshmen on our team. We've got 1 returner from last season and 6 transfers. So a lot
Wow.
of new faces, but I think a lot of good talent. We're super excited about the youth on our team. They've come together really quickly, and we'll see kind of how that pans out this Friday and Saturday.
Last year you were really wanting to run and gun more, keep the pace of the game. Is that still the plan for this year?
That is still the plan for this year, and we've actually recruited a larger roster to kind of fit that style of play. So we've got 14 on the roster this season, as last year we only had 11. And so, we feel like that's going to be advantageous. I think it keeps a lot of players engaged.
Right.
When you're playing up and down and you're subbing in a lot, players understand that they need to be ready because they are going to get in the game. You don't have those 3 or 4 sitting on the sidelines in practice not engaged because they don't think they're ever going to play. So we've seen a big increase in just players being engaged in practice for longer periods of time because they understand and know they're going to get in the game.
Well, I can imagine on the coaching side, that puts a little more pressure on y'all because you've got the game's moving so fast and you're constantly subbing. Is you may not quite have the time to do
Yeah.
the adjustments you ordinarily in a slower game. You can adjust a little bit, but
Yeah.
talk about the challenges in coaching in that world.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is. It's a different way of coaching. I knew when I wanted to go to this style of play that I was going to have to relinquish some of my control over
Mhm.
what's going on in the basketball game. So we're teaching conceptual basketball. So getting players in positions on the floor where they can be successful, giving them options. So really it's the players' options. I mean, we have a few play calls, but once the play kind of gets rolling, the players are making their choices on the basketball court. So that's different for a coach, right? I mean,
Right.
that's I've got to trust. I've got to continue to coach and practice. I've got to give verbal signals and pointers to kind of nudge them in the direction that I see what's happening on the day or in the game. And then the players have to really be ready to make decisions. There's a lot of our freshmen when they first come in, they ask a ton of questions
Right.
because they want to be told where to go and what to do. And we have to kind of retrain them out of that mindset of going, okay, no, you're making the choice here. You're reading the defense. What are they giving you? And you know what? There's not a bad choice. Just make one and go with it. And so it's again a different way of challenging our players, and it takes a little bit of time to get them developed in that way, but it's an exciting brand of basketball. It's exciting for the players. It's fun to coach. So yeah, we'll just roll the dice out there and see how it goes.
Well, and coach, I've got to think that this style of play hasn't made its way into the high schools yet, which is, I could see that challenge to it. And the guys just thinking, not only do they've got to figure out what the talent that's on the floor with them, how that can affect their role and things.
Yes, yeah. Well, and finding ways to get the shots that they are comfortable taking.
Right.
So, players sometimes will be in positions on the floor, and that's really not where she's super comfortable. So, finding a way to get her back into an area of the floor where she's super comfortable and then can make some great plays is really part of the challenge, right? Making sure they're getting to those spots and understanding their options from those spots. But you're right. I mean, I don't know if you could do this type of offense at the high school level
Right.
and relinquish a lot of the play calling and give it to the players, right? You could run some of the same sets and options, but as a coach you would definitely have to call those options. But I've always thought the high schools that can press and put a lot of pressure in the full court and play up tempo really do successful at the high school level, because you're going to run into players who are dribble challenged and passing challenged.
Right. Right.
And so it really forces the opponents to be good ball handlers and good passers. And I think at the high school level, you run into a lot of teams that maybe only have 2 or 3 on a roster, and you're going to force them to put the ball in people's hands that aren't capable.
Yeah, one thing that I've in talking and working with players over the years in my younger days was parents would ask me about girls, or boys being able to play at the college level. The one thing I tried to get across to them is you've got to be able to develop your own shot. I mean, you've got to, you work within a system in high school and it works for you. But when you get to the next level, you've got to be able to create your own shot without an offense or without a set. And what you're saying is that's becoming even more so today in your type of offense.
Yeah, I think players that go to the college level, they have to have a niche,
Mm-hmm.
and that niche has to be excellent. And the higher level you play, the bigger the athlete and the more talented they are at their niche. So, we always say in our program, you can't be short and slow in the sport of basketball. You can
Right.
be small, but you've got to be dynamic at something if you're small, right? You've got to
Mm-hmm.
be super fast, you've got to be a great ball handler or a great defender or be able to knock down shots, like whatever that looks like. But you can't be short and slow in the sport of basketball at our level. Right. And
Right.
so there's players that will be able to play at the collegiate level because maybe, man, that player is just a knockdown 3-point shooter. They might be a little slow, footed and not be the greatest defender or rebounder. But man, when that kid's open, it's guaranteed that she's
Right.
knocking down that shot.
Right.
Right. And so those are the things that players have to realize. It's like, I have to become really productive at something on the floor. I can't just be running around out there and, just, hey, well, I can run the plays. Well, that's everybody at our level can do that.
Right. Right.
So now you've got to be able to read the play and pass in the play and screen in the play and hustle through it. And then, of course, there's the things that don't show up on a stat sheet, the intangibles of I'm willing to be coached. I can be coached hard. I can, overcome adversity. I can, work through challenging times when, it's hard for me. I'm not going to break down.
Yeah.
I've got some of that, chip on my shoulder that I can play through that adversity. And that's becoming harder and harder to come by.
Yeah. Different type of player, definitely, than we've got there now. Talk about the games we've got coming up. How's the season going to open?
Yeah, we are on the road at the end of this week. We're headed to the Valdosta, Georgia. Although we won't play Valdosta State, we will play 2 in-region opponents Friday and Saturday. We play Palm Beach Atlantic and Eckerd College back to back. So they are both in the Sunshine Conference. Very important games here early in the season. And we played these 2 opponents last year and beat them on a neutral floor. And, at the end of the season, it came down to comparing us and Eckerd College for an at-large bid in the NCAA tournament. And because we beat them the very first game of the season, we got the nod into the NCAA tournament. So that's how important these early season games are. But once we start playing on Friday, we've got 7 games in about 16 days. So we play on the road those 2 games. We'll come back and play a home game on Tuesday, November 18th. But that
That's
one's going to
early.
be
That's an early
yeah,
game, though.
it is. It is an early game. It's an unusual tip off. It's 10:30 in the morning. We've got
Right.
some elementary schools that are coming out, but we also, if any of your listeners are, want to come out, get out of the office, early on a Tuesday, get their staff over, or if you've got some homeschoolers, we'd love to have you come out. But that's a 10:30 tip against Tuskegee, which is a very good opponent.
Right.
And then the very next day, we hop on the bus and we head down to Orlando to compete as one of the very first Division II games in the WBCA showcase. It is a huge event for Division I women's basketball. They opened up the door and invited us in Central Missouri to come play one Division II game while they were there at the tournament. And of course, we said yes. We couldn't pass it up.
Right.
So we will play Central Missouri on that Friday. And then leave Orlando the 22nd to head to Puerto Rico for 2 games. So
Oh,
we've got a packed schedule here in November, and it's crazy. Yeah.
yeah. It's what great recruiting tools, though. for your girls. I mean, to attract players.
Oh, it is. It is. And you're right about that, Rick. I mean, you've got to have a niche at
Mm-hmm.
something that, you're recruiting players. Now, obviously, we feel like our niche is high level basketball, a great institution, a great academic
Mm-hmm.
institution, live in a wonderful community of Pensacola, have the access to the beach and downtown and all these things that other places don't have. But when you can add on to that a really competitive basketball schedule that takes them to some really unique venues, it makes it worthwhile.
It really does. Puts a lot of stress on you, but it
A lot
makes
of
it fun.
stress, a lot of stress, a lot of stress, Rick. A lot of stress of fundraising and putting it together and making sure everybody's got their, IDs to travel. And it's a lot. It's a lot.
It is. Well, for our listeners, we're going to Steph has agreed we'll do this on a regular basis, catch up on the team, hopefully every week. And again, I appreciate all that you do. I mean, y'all do so much. Your team does so much in the community. You've been big on trying to help develop talent here, which has been great. And to be able to talk to a North Carolina Tar Heel is always fun.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it, Rick, and hopefully I can give you some of those insights that when Coach closes her office door and we start talking hoops, that not everyone gets to see from the parameters of sitting in the stands, and give your fans a little bit of insight on women's basketball.
That'll be great. Have a great week. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you, Rick. I'll talk
Right.
soon.
Thanks for watching, and to keep up with what's going on, be sure and subscribe. Just click on the little dog to the right and click the subscribe button. You can also like this video and click on the bell, which will notify you of new content. This really helps the channel grow. We appreciate you.